As we conclude our series today on theism versus atheism, which makes better sense, I'm reminded of the words of one of our great founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson used to say, "The Creator has made our minds free." I like that, and I completely agree. Everyone is free to pursue and accept ideas that each finds persuasive and compelling. During this brief series, I've been arguing that I find theism or design a far more compelling and persuasive argument than atheism. But everyone has to decide for themselves. Today I'm just going to review several factors, several arguments that I find persuasive in favor of design. First, the finite universe. The finite universe seems to require the existence of a separate, outside causal agent, something that is outside of time and space. Had to be the genesis of it, because whatever begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore the universe has a cause. The Kalam argument is both sound and valid, and it relates to what we now know to be the case. At one point, there was absolutely nothing. And the next moment, there was absolutely everything. That requires the intervention of someone or something from beyond time and space. And so the first reason I suspect that a designer is a better answer than random forces and chance accidents and whatnot is because the universe began at a point in time, and clearly there was a mover behind that event. I suspect this is God. It sounds like Genesis 1:1 to me. Secondly, not only the finite universe requires the existence of a separate causal agent, but secondly, the laws of physics which govern our world and the universe indicate the work of a brilliant, powerful, and benevolent designer. All of the laws of physics are fine-tuned with exacting precision in our favor. And there's not a lot of wiggle room. If any of the dials had been set just slightly differently, just a hair's breadth differently than what they are, life in the universe could not exist. It does appear the universe was expecting us. It does appear a brilliant, benevolent designer set those dials so that we could live and survive and thrive on planet Earth. The odds of any one of those physical laws randomly falling in place in a way that benefits us and doesn't destroy us is astronomically high, a probability of nearly zero by any calculation. Even Sir Fred Hoyle, who was a brilliant scientist and who was not, at least to my knowledge, either a theist or a Christian, had to concur. He said, "It appears a super intellect has monkeyed with the dials." He used that term dials to refer to the settings of the physical laws, as I picked up on from him. If the dials were off just a hair's breadth, the universe would not exist and there would not be life on planet Earth. Thus, it seems better, it seems more rational to believe somebody set those couple dozen dials than that they just all randomly landed by chance accident in precisely the necessary spot. And so we have the finite universe, we have the laws of physics. And let me say, Hoyle made a logical deduction based on the evidence that he had. It wasn't as though he was just grasping at straws. He made his deduction logically based on the evidence as he understood it. So we have the finite universe, we have the laws of physics. Thirdly, we have the complexity of life utterly defying and refuting Darwin's simple cell paradigm. I mean, the simple cell is a misnomer of astronomical proportions. It's a little like saying the Grand Canyon is a pothole. Well, it's not. It's grand. And life's not simple. It's staggeringly complex and sophisticated. So exquisite, beyond anything we can produce at the highest levels of our knowledge and technology. Human life eclipses all of it. Everyone knows that sophisticated, complex technology, such as we find in life, is the product of intelligence. That is rudimentary. No one would believe that the GM factory at headquarters just fell into place. That's clearly created. No one would believe that a supercomputer just spontaneously and randomly appeared, fully programmed. That's nonsense. And yet those things, compared to cellular life and the sophistication of life, those things are primitive. Even Dawkins, a leading voice these days in atheistic thought and in naturalism, even Dawkins concurs candidly that biological life is exceedingly sophisticated and complex. He's right when he says biology is the study of complex things that appear to be designed for a purpose, but aren't, he concludes. He was doing so well right up until those last two words. Because he was working with the evidence until those last two words. Biology is the study of complex things that appear to be designed for a purpose. That's what the evidence indicates. That's the evidence speaking. It is complex, sophisticated and complex, specified complexity, and certainly looks designed. So why does he conclude with, but aren't? What evidence does he marshal to support that claim? Nothing. Because it's not based on the evidence. It's based on his commitment to the philosophical assumptions of atheism. His philosophy interrupts the study of his evidence and leads him to a conclusion that makes sense to him, but certainly doesn't make sense to everyone. The first part of his statement makes sense. Yes, biology studies complex things that do appear to be designed for a purpose. Absolutely. So, what if someone doesn't share his philosophical commitment to atheism, which is the only thing that leads him in the other direction? What if we prefer to stay with the evidence as observed? Wow, sophisticatingly complex, staggeringly so, and certainly appears to be designed for a purpose. I'm going to stay with that because I'm not committed to this philosophical assumption. I think it's really important for people to realize that the evidence does declare design. Even Dawkins admitted it. That's what you see when you look at this kind of sophisticated technology. It's designed. So we have the finite universe mandating an outside presence for its genesis. We have the laws of physics fine-tuned with exacting precision to benefit the human race in every case, and if one was off, we wouldn't be here. The complexity of life utterly refutes Darwin's simple cell paradigm. Naturalism doesn't have a good answer for the complexity of life. And then lastly, we thought about last time that the fossil evidence suggests that all life forms appeared suddenly, fully formed, complex, sophisticated, and complete, experiencing just minor variation from their introduction into the fossil evidence until they disappear, sometimes through extinction. 180 to what Darwin was expecting. Absolutely the opposite. And I do really like what Philip Johnson has said about the evidence of the fossil record. He said, so if evolution means the transition of one life form into another life form, or one species into another species, then the outstanding characteristic of the fossil record is the lack of evidence for evolution. It just isn't there. The Cambrian explosion introduces all forms of life, apparently suddenly, fully formed and complex. There's no ancestors. There's nothing precursor to it. They're just there. It would appear, even as Stephen Jay Gould said, that someone just put them there. Well, if the evidence indicates that biological matter is complex and looks designed for a purpose, and if even Gould says the evidence of the fossil remains look like somebody just created it out of nothing and put it right there, why on earth would atheists call theists ignorant, close-minded, and foolish? These are the things that the other side has said. Theists are just going with the evidence and not following the philosophy of atheism, refusing to go that way. That only makes sense, calling creationists ignorant and foolish, when you've sold out 100% to atheism. But if you look at the evidence, boy, the signs of design are just everywhere. And the answers postulated by naturalism are bereft of evidence. I'd like to close with a comment by one of my favorite fictional detectives, Sherlock Holmes. In one occasion, Holmes said, well, when you eliminate the impossible, whatever is left, no matter how improbable, must be true. In the discussion of theism versus atheism, naturalism's answers, to my mind, are simply impossible. The simple cell is a myth. The transitional forms of the fossils are a myth. And the evidence is entirely the other way. Biological information pointing clearly and specifically to a designer. And even the appearance of life as evidenced through the fossil record. Immediate, fully formed, sophisticated and complex from the very beginning. Indeed, it does appear someone just put them there. And I testify that that someone is God. I hope you'll join me next time.